doubled over the last 348 days. I woke up this morning, checked the price of Bitcoin. It has made another quantum leap up in price to $634.94 according to Google. You can see the search that I made. I typed in the date and copied the time and put that at the bottom right. What's half of 634? 317. What's half of 94? 47. So when was Bitcoin $317.47? I go to bitcoincharts.com. I click on charts. I select 1 year and daily, and at the bottom left, load raw data. And what you see on the screen is what I get. The price of $317 occurred somewhere between October 29th and October 30th of 2015. I used the October 29th price, $310.64. Because the following day, it was just over half of today's price. So today's price of $634.94 is more than double the price of $310.64. In less than a year, Bitcoin doubled in price. Do you know any stock that has doubled in price over the past 348 days? Has any parcel of real estate in the world doubled in price in the last 348 days? For most industries, this is an unsustainable growth, doubling in less than a year. What should we expect from this kind of growth? We should expect Bitcoin is going to be a magnet for money, and it's going to pull money out of other places. If someone holds a portfolio of stocks, they might sell them for the greater return of Bitcoin. Especially if they think that a stock market crash is imminent, and I think it is. I think the stock market is a bubble. The Chinese want to hold their huge pile of capital in gold, but gold does not double every year. I don't know the future price of Bitcoin. It may not double every year, but it doubled over the last 348 days. Nobody can argue with that. Would someone who owns an apartment building and earns 20% a year in a slum prefer to have Bitcoin? Suppose you had an apartment building and it was worth $10 million and you sold it and put all the money in Bitcoin for a year. In 348 days, you have 20 million, where 10 million used to be. You could buy 2 apartment buildings. Or you could stay with Bitcoin and see what it does over the next year. That's why I say Bitcoin will pull money out of real estate. And when people dump real estate and stocks, what happens to the stock market and the real estate market? It becomes a little bit saturated with goods for sale and a little light on buyers because other buyers with capital want to have their money in Bitcoin also. How long is it going to be before cities put their nest egg in Bitcoin? You know, every city and every county has a huge fund. Walter Burien talks about this. He calls them CAFRs, CAFRs. They're annual financial reports. Every citizen in this country belongs to a city or a state or a county. And each one of them have a huge fund. And the lawyers lend this money out and they take a percentage of the loan amount as their fee. So they want this fund to be as large as possible. Walter Burien gives you a lengthy explanation about the whole thing. I'm giving you a quick 30-second summary. So if you want to know more, look up Walter Burien, B-U-R-I-E-N. He is the only person I ever heard talk about these huge funds. He speaks of Mesa, Arizona. He says that they have a fund of $168 million and they made $32 million last year. And they bought all new squad cars for the police department. And the lawyers want this fund to get larger and larger. I heard Jerry Brown say that California has one of these funds, the state of California, and it has $500 billion in it. Would you like to double that in 1 year? Bitcoin could do that. It has a limited supply, and if California decided to put $500 billion into Bitcoin, Bitcoin would go from a capitalization of about $10 billion to $510 billion. Now, since the price depends on the capital invested, you take the capital invested and you divide it by the number of Bitcoins, and that's the price. There are almost 16 million Bitcoins. Let's round it off and use 16 million. The price of Bitcoin would be $31,875, and today's price is $634. So if California invested $500 billion, that's just one state. It's not one country, it's one state in the United States. It's the largest state, that's true. Might be the wealthiest state with $500 billion laying around. But one state could drive the price of Bitcoin up to $31,000 per Bitcoin if the leaders in that state were wise enough to invest the money in Bitcoin. And I don't know of any city that's that wise yet, but they will be. So Bitcoin could be 50 times more valuable than it is today. That's a 5,000% growth in the price. If you distributed that equally over a period of years, it would be very easy to get 100% growth per year. Over the next 6 or 7 years, it is quite possible for Bitcoin to go from $634 to $31,875, which is 50 times larger. If Bitcoin was exactly $634 today and it doubled every year, in 5 years, Bitcoin would be $20,000, and in 6 years, $40,000. I'm rounding it off. So somewhere between year 5 and 6, Bitcoin would reach $31,875. And I think when one city or state moves into Bitcoin, they will all do it at about the same time. And I did a calculation just now based on one state, the United States. When the Russians announce that they're going to accept Bitcoin to pay for oil, that's going to be a turning point. When the IRS says that they will accept Bitcoin to pay one's taxes, that will be the end of the period in which we fear the murder of Bitcoin by the powers that be. That will prove acceptance. But today, the greatest fear and risk is that the powers that be will kill Bitcoin because it's a competitor. And this puts a damper on the price. Is 100% gain over a period of 348 days typical, or is that the dampened growth rate? What will the growth rate be when there is a green light for Bitcoin? How long would it take for Bitcoin to reach $1 million in price if it doubles every year? It would take only 11 years, somewhere between 10 and 11 years. We're starting with a price of $634.94. That's the current price at 5:40 in the morning on October 11th, 2016. We know for sure that it doubled over the past 348 days. Because on the 29th of October 2015, Bitcoin was $310. And if we use that value today, October 11, 2016, at $634.94, and we double that each year, which is the growth record over the past 348 days, 11 months and something, then the price of Bitcoin in 10 years is $650,000. And the following year, $1.3 million per Bitcoin. Here's the spreadsheet that I did for it. 15 years from now, Bitcoin will have a value of $20 million per Bitcoin if the current trend continues, doubling every year. Bitcoin doubled in less than a year. But I like to be conservative. If we look at the past trend over the last 348 days, we see that Bitcoin doubled in price. If that trend continues, in 10 years, each Bitcoin will be worth 1,000 times more. And I think this will attract money from everywhere. And the more money that Bitcoin attracts, the faster the rate of growth becomes, and it attracts then even more money. A technology takes time to work in, and 20 years is nothing. The internet is more than 20 years old, and it's moving nicely toward a freer, fairer world. The blockchain is going to have its impact. It is an enormous change, It's bigger than Bitcoin. But Bitcoin in 16 years, with a doubling every year, could be worth $41 million per Bitcoin. It depends on how many states rush into Bitcoin. It might be that Bitcoin is the only intelligent place to put money. I don't know the future. I'm looking at the past, and I'm extrapolating for the future. In other words, I'm saying if this trend continues, where will we be 10 years from now? 650,000 per Bitcoin. 15 years from now, $20 million per Bitcoin. 16 years from now, 41 million. And I stop there because it gets ridiculous. This is like a black hole. The more matter it sucks in, the more massive it becomes, and the more capable of sucking in more matter. That's a black hole. It becomes so powerful that light can't even escape. And so it's black. Bitcoin is in its infancy because there are only 8 million downloaded wallets. And we don't even know if those 8 million went to unique people or if they went to the same people, one person updating his wallet by downloading a new one and discarding the old one. Assuming that they're all unique users, then 99.9% of the world does not have a Bitcoin wallet. And they're free. Why wouldn't anybody download a Bitcoin wallet and begin studying Bitcoin before investing? But if someone wants to give you a Bitcoin gift, you don't have a wallet, you can't receive it. Bitcoin requires study, and 99% of the world doesn't want to study. And so they're left out of this wealth transfer system. Everybody holding dollars is going to lose. Everybody holding Bitcoin has a chance to win, but it's not guaranteed because the powers that be could kill it. It's a gamble at this point because the risks are unknown. Since the banks are adopting the blockchain, and since the West has no gold, and since China and Russia do have a lot of gold, like more than 20,000 tons each, those who control money might want to abandon gold in favor of a decentralized cryptocurrency. Of course, they're going to try to figure out how to centralize it so that they control it, and you're not going to see a limit of 21 million like there is with Bitcoin. You're going to see 21 billion or 21 trillion because they want to create them as they go and spend them. That's the way they live parasitically off the rest of us. But Bitcoin is promised to be held at 21 million, and there are almost 16 million already released. We only have 5 million left, and they will be released over the next 100 years or so. I think the year is 2141. The number of Bitcoins released each year, it's approximately every 4 years that the number of Bitcoins being released is cut in half. It has more to do with blockchain, but it comes out to about every 4 years. Bitcoin has problems. And the size of the blockchain is one of the biggest problems it has because you can't get a confirmation, and the costs of sending Bitcoins is rising, and it is now at about credit card rates. So merchants have no advantage in switching from credit cards to Bitcoin in respect to cost. In respect to chargebacks, there is an advantage to Bitcoin. But it's not much of an incentive because Bitcoin is complicated to understand. You have to ask a lot of questions, you have to get the answers, and you have to move into the new technology. A lot of people don't want to be moved into the future. They want to stick with the past. And those who resisted the sewing machine wanted to work with needle and thread. They didn't want to go into the future because the sewing machine was complicated. You've got a bobbin and a whole bunch of parts. I can't tell you what the parts are because I don't know. I know of the bobbin. And if you ever take a bobbin out and look at it, it's complicated. A needle and thread is simple. Well, the US dollar is simple and all the fiats are simple, but there exists a bunch of parasites who are living off the rest of us, and they're robbing us of prosperity. Bitcoin comes along decentralized. There's an advantage there. There's a limited supply, which is a huge incentive for people to invest. But because there are thousands of questions to ask and many ways to lose your Bitcoins, the world is not moving into it very fast. But 16 years from now, we could have a price of 41 million if the current trend over the past year continues. That's all I have to say today. Thanks for watching. The price of Bitcoin doubled over the last 348 days. I woke up this morning, checked the price of Bitcoin. It has made another quantum leap up in price to $634.94 according to Google. You can see the search that I made. I typed in the date and copied the time and put that at the bottom right. What's half of 634? 317. What's half of 94? 47. So when was Bitcoin $317.47? I go to bitcoincharts.com. I click on charts. I select 1 year and daily, and at the bottom left, load raw data. And what you see on the screen is what I get. The price of $317 occurred somewhere between October 29th and October 30th of 2015. I used the October 29th price, $310.64. Because the following day, it was just over half of today's price. So today's price of $634.94 is more than double the price of $310.64. In less than a year, Bitcoin doubled in price. Do you know any stock that has doubled in price over the past 348 days? Has any parcel of real estate in the world doubled in price in the last 348 days? For most industries, this is an unsustainable growth, doubling in less than a year. What should we expect from this kind of growth? We should expect Bitcoin is going to be a magnet for money, and it's going to pull money out of other places. If someone holds a portfolio of stocks, they might sell them for the greater return of Bitcoin, especially if they think that a stock market crash is imminent, and I think it is. I think the stock market is a bubble. The Chinese want to hold their huge pile of capital in gold, but gold does not double every year. I don't know the future price of Bitcoin. It may not double every year.